Hello all, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to see about this Great Depression which happened in 1929. As we are in this crisis period, it is almost similar to the Great Depression period. Let us see what has happened in the Great Depression period. So Great Depression period is the period where a very worst and severe depression has happened in the industrialized Western world, which has created various changes in the economic institution and economic policies, all which has happened in the US and has created a drastic declines in severity in unemployment, deflation across the world, and this has made various cultural shocks and social effects that thus having this great depression which is being represented by the US people after the civil war. Let us go through the history where this depression has a varied from various countries across the globe. So this depression has been a very severe effect in the United States as well as the Europe, and lot of other countries as well has got affected and had a milder effect in Japan and Latin America. And this depression has created a storm and in the havoc in the world economy, and this has given the decline in consumer demand, various financial panics, and various damage in the government policies caused the economic output and the fall in the United States. But the gold standards in the world and the currency exchange rates cleared various roles in giving the American downtown to the other parts of the country. This recovery has created a large standard in the gold and bringing the monetary expansion. The economic impact has given an enormous human sufferings and various changes in the economic policy. The severity has started in this United States, which is started with the summer in 1929 with the normal recession, and this has turned into a downturn and in late 1929 until it has continued until till 1933. The output as well as the prices were falling, and the GDP growth, industrial production declined about 47 percentage, and the GDP fell about 30 percentage. The wholesale price index has been declining 33 percentage, and there are about various statistic debates also happened, and the unemployment has exceeded over 20%, which is the highest point. The severity in this US has become a evidence and got a various damaging recession and set to a again a recession which has given in 2007 to 9. During that period also the GDP declined and various unemployment was more at a less than 10 percentage. How this crisis happened. As the Great Depression across various scenarios seen across the world, and the magnitude and various across the world has given a great struggle. The Great Britain almost struggled with a low grade growth rate during the half of the 1920s, and the country slipped into a severe depression until the 1930s, and the industrial production also had been given a damaging decline. Various other countries, such as France, experienced a short downturn in the early 1930s, and the France recovered from 1932 to 33. But this was, however, a short notice period, and again the industrial production fell between 1933 and 36. Along with the France, Germany also had a great downturn in 1928, and then after this stabilized and turning down again in this quarter of 1929. So this given to a decline of production as well in the Germany, and various other countries such as Latin America as well fell into this Great Depression. In 1928 and 29, this US has declined in the output, and while some various less developing countries also experienced this severe depression, and given these comparatively mild downturns, and Japan also experienced a relatively mild depression. This has hit the price, and deflation also created in the United States, and virtually this industrialization got various declines in the wholesale price, almost more than 30% during the period of 1929 to 33. And other country like this Japan had a deflation during 1930 to 31. The deflation period helped the prices to have the decline in the production, which was slightly better. And the coffee price, cotton, silk, and rubber also got reduced in the half between September 1929 and December 1920. Various commodity prices also got declined. Now, starting to the recovery period, the US started its recovery between in the spring of its 1933, and the output started to grow in the mid 1930s. The GDP rate also raised for an average rate of 9% per year, and between the period of 1933 and 37. The output also had fallen in the 1930s, after which some stability has started. 1937 to 38, another downturn has been suffered by the US, and after mid 1938 again it started to grow rapidly. The country's output also finally started to a growth trend path in 1942. The recovery seems to be in across various other countries as well. After this Great Britain abandoned the gold standard in September 1931, and the recovery but still not begun until the end of 1932. Various economies of Latin American countries has started to recover from 1931 to 1932. Germany as well as Japan also started to recover in the fall of 1932, and Canada and various European countries also started to revive in the same period of United States as on 1933. The France experienced a severe depression also, and various other countries did not enter the recovery period until 1938. Then after the decline started in United States, the spending various aggregate demand which has got to a decline in the production, as merchandisers are not noticing this unprecedented rise in the stock levels. There is a contraction in the spending power, spending of the consumers in the United States in the period of this depression, and there headed a monumental decline. The world largely through this gold standard transmitted the decline, and this has led to a stock market crash as well. As in United States in summer 1929, there is a tight monetary policy which was aimed for the stock market speculation. This had a booming period in the early 1920s, but again between the period of 1924 to 27, there was a recession, and this was an obvious reason for the stock market declines. The stock period prices had started to rise four, fourfold and started to a low in 1921, again started with a peak in 1929. In 1928 and 29, the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank, has raised the interest rates and having the hope to raise the stock prices. The higher interest rates were higher, and the interest sensitive spending areas were being in reduction in the production. And various scholars also believe that the boom in the house constructions in the mid 1920s gave an excess supply of housing, and particularly drop in the construction in 1928 and 29. In 1929, the stock market reached a certain levels, but they were not unable to anticipate the future earnings. Various minor events had given this decline in October 1929, and all the investors lost their confidence, and the stock market began to get their bubble burst, and panic selling began, which is called the Black Thursday on October 24, 1929. Various stocks which are being purchased over ahead of the margin has been sold for a very low price. As a result, this got the price declines, and the investors liquidate their holdings in their falling the price. In the peak September and their low in November, the US price declined further until to 33 percentage, and this was the great dramatic decline which has been referred to the great crash of 1929. The stock market started to crash and reduced its demand, and the consumer purchase of durable business goods also began to fell sharply after this crash. And this financial crisis has given an important explanations on the uncertainty on the future, and they had been put off the purchase in the durable goods. Further to the loss of the wealth due to the decline in the stock price, the crash may also have depressed the spending by the people, and people became poorer. And this decline, a drastic decline in the consumer spending, has turned down the output in the US and declined slowly, and then fell rapidly in 1929 and 30. And this created this great crash of the stock market, and the Great Depression were being taken as a separate event, which the decline in the stock market has a significant contributing factor of production and employment in the United States. So this is how the various declines happened in the 1929 period. Various crises has happened in the recent past decade, but however, this Great Depression almost being a great example for this period of crisis. Thank you all. Kindly like and subscribe my channel. Thank you.